Hi everyone, this is lesson 5 on gospel symbolism. So today we're going to be talking about gematria, holy math, etc. Now, disclaimer that, or not disclaimer, start over. Hi everyone, this is lesson 5 on gospel symbolism. Today we're talking about gematria, holy Hebrew math, the Bible code, etc. So as a precursor to this class, in our Thursday lecture series, I presented a fourth intermediary class as a prerequisite to this one, for example. Anyway, I'm going to link to it here on the screen and put it in the description below. But I highly recommend you go and watch it first before you get into this. We are dealing with very esoteric principles, and I would very much appreciate if you would go and watch that video so that when I'm talking about esoteric things that we put them in their proper context. All right, so moving in to a review of last week. What did you learn from your memorization of body parts and clothing? And what are some examples of things in scriptures that have new meaning and things for you? Our pop quiz this week was just on the basic numbers. 1, 2, 3, and so forth. A review of what each of those numbers meant. So quiz yourself. See if you can come up with the main ideas behind each of those shapes, numbers, and etc. Because you're going to need that going into the math of the things. All right. So keeping in tradition, we're looking at some art. This is the Ghent altarpiece in St. Bavo's Cathedral in Belgium. And we're going to be focusing on that bottom center rectangle, which is called the Adoration of the Mystic Lamb. So this was by Hubert van Eyck and Jan van Eyck. If I pronounce those correctly, I don't know. So that center one here is very interesting. So what colors, shapes, symbols, themes, patterns, body parts, clothing do you see in this image? We're going to be zooming into different parts of it really quick. Pause the video. What you see, look at the rainbow color on some of the wings versus the dual colors on other wings. They're colors of clothing, the halos, the rays, the inscription upon the altars, the censers of incense that those two front angels are waving. There's so much there. All right, the bottom left-hand corner. So we can, in part of the center, we see that octagonal fountain with its 7 spouts of water, and then above that 3 spouts of water. And the angel seems to be almost having 2 spouts of water above that. So what kind of hats and what are they reading? What kind of clothing are they in? What is their attitude? This is the upper left-hand corner. So we notice this group of people are all males, and on the flip side, on the right-hand side in the upper right-hand corner, it's all females. Look what they're holding, these branches, versus what the women are holding. Look at the cities in the background, what they represent, which cities those are, the bushes, what those are. Here's the right hand up at the top. This is the group of women, what they're wearing versus the men, what they're holding, the cities in the background there. This is the bottom right-hand corner. So look at those more simplistic, almost in a white lavender color robe with these highly ornate crowns next to them. There's a lot there. I'm going to zoom back out to the full thing. Look at the dove inside of the sun, inside of the rays, inside of the cloud there, up at the top center. Anyway, there's a lot there. Fun. All right, so like always, we review how our alphabet has 26 symbols and endless possibilities. And so God's alphabet contains many more symbols. And so how much more infinite can we be thinking and reasoning and speaking, and how God can be communicating with us through symbolism. So just a review on a couple of the numbers. 40 is a lengthy period of time, a period of trial, testing, probation, and mourning. And 1,000 is to magnify or embellish that which is being associated. It's power and strength, magnitude, greatness, vastness, incalculable multitude. All right, so here's where we need to keep ourselves in check. This is very much esoteric. This is not core doctrine. This is not essential for salvation. It's not even necessarily supporting or policy. This is esoteric. So take it for what it's worth. If the Spirit leads you and guides you throughout the study of the Bible code and Gematria, so be it. It's not for everyone, and the Spirit might reveal different things to different people at different times. So just kind of a introduction to it. I'd like to ask like 3 questions. So how did Moses receive the higher law? And I'm not talking that he just went up on Mount Sinai, etc. But how did he receive it? Much like Joseph Smith received a lot of his engravings during the translation process. Some revelation was given in a hat that was covered to block out the outer light. He was given words, principles. How did Moses receive the higher law up on Sinai? And we'll talk about that, Jewish traditions and stuff a little bit later. But so what did he do with the higher law once he came down from Sinai? We know that he broke the tablets and they weren't ready for them. And so he went back up and got the lower law and brought that back down to him. Then my third question is, do you suppose that any of the Israelites were ready for the higher law? Like, what about Aaron? What about any of the others, Miriam, the 70 that were able to go up partway on the mount? Were they all deserving of the lower law, or were they feeling gypped because they didn't receive the full law? All right, so this next part I am going to be quoting directly from Avraham Gileadi's book called Isaiah Decoded. He just summarizes it so succinctly. So I'm quoting from him from chapter 1, page 7. He says that Jewish tradition has it that God revealed the law to Moses in a stream of consecutive letters, which Moses then dissected into words, much like this. This is just an example. This is not from the book. I just took some of the Beatitudes and put them here on the screen in that same fashion. So consecutive letters, and then Moses dissected them into words, much like this would be, dissecting it into words so that we can plainly see the different things. The lesser law didn't satisfy some people. They believed that the higher law somehow still existed in the writings of Moses. They reasoned that words that we read from Genesis through Deuteronomy were hiding another message beneath the surface. To obtain the higher law, some surmised that all they had to do was discover the key to deciphering that which was already hidden there. If they could find it, keeping the higher law would then bring greater blessings or powers from God, similar to those of Moses. So this is just an example. This is not from the book. This is just one that I popped off from the internet and Googled. This is a cipher, and it's an nth letter code decipher. So every so many letters, if you pull those all out, it creates a subliminal message or a hidden message. So take a second, pause the video, try to see if you can find how many letters creates that code. All right, so it's a 10th letter cipher. So that's a hint if you want to go back through and go through it again. Go ahead and pause the video and look for every 10th letter. All right, so if we take every 10th letter, we pull out those letters and it spells help me. So this is kind of the same principle that we're talking about with the law of Moses and what they were trying to find in the Bible code. So this is from the book. This is on page 9 of Isaiah Decoded. And remember, we're reading right to left as Hebrews do. And there at the bottom, that red bubble, is the Hebrew letters for our English version of Yeshua or Jehovah. So from top to bottom, right to left, we find those same letters, and they're 6 digits apart. That's in the book of Numbers, chapter 21. And then in the book of Isaiah, we have the same thing, but it's 4 digits apart instead of 6 digits apart. So they never did succeed in finding the higher law, but nonetheless, they did discover geometric patterns in Moses' books that contained clues to the existence of encrypted data. So what we've got is a whole bunch of reckoning by numbers. It's termed Gematria now, but there's many different ways to do it, and so it's highly speculative. It's very esoteric, and so I want to make sure to give that disclaimer multiple times throughout this video that the Spirit can speak through the geometry of words and the mathematics of the Hebrew language, but is it essential for our salvation? No. Is it supporting? No, it's not policy. It's very much esoteric. It can be revealed, and the more you search it, if you want that to become your hobby, your spiritual hobby, go for it. But I'm not trying to proceed or to teach this as if your salvation depends on it, kind of a thing. I'm not even that great at it. I dabble, but it's definitely not my forte. So here's how you set up the alphabet and associate different numerical values to each letter. You split it into columns, and you have 9 different values, 9 different rows of letters. So your numbers are 1 through 9, and then it picks up back on the next column with 10, which is right after 9, but instead of going to 11, you're just going to be in the tens digits. And then the next column is going to be hundreds. The next column is going to be thousands, and so forth. So with every alphabet, it's a little bit different. This is English, this is Hebrew. But look at the English one and practice writing out the alphabet and going 1 through 9, 10 through 900, 10 through 90, 100 through 900, etc. For English, it's going to go to 800 and try to construct different reckonings. So, for example, Adam, if you spell out that word, it's going to be 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus 40. So that's going to be 46. Eve, on the other hand, is going to be a 5 plus a 400 plus another 5. So 410. My name, Cameron, you have a 3 plus a 1 plus a 4. It equals 249. So try spelling your name. Try spelling other people's names. Try doing lots of different reckonings and then maybe take different ones and see what they compare to. See if you and your spouse have the same reckoning or close, or if it's mirror images of each other, kind of thing. All right, so going into the Hebrew reckoning by numbers, here's the Hebrew alphabet. And notice that those finials, those last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finials are kind of optional to some people that study Gematria. But it does make for a good even 27 numbers rather than just ending right there at 400. So, not that we speak Hebrew or know those letters, but that would be super helpful to the study of Gematria for sure. So here's some of the equivalents. So our word for love is ahava in Hebrew, and equals 13. The word for one, echad, is 13 as well. So Zion's love for one another is that what makes them one, and that what makes them like God. So, if we have love for one another, we're going to be unified and so forth. So if we take love and oneness and add those together, it equals 26, which Yahweh, or that's the term for Jehovah, Yahweh equals 26 as well. So this is evidence that becoming a Zion people guarantees that they will become as God is. Another fun example is Adam and Eve. So Adam in Hebrew Gematria is a 45 and Eve is a 19, which is crazy because it's totally opposite in the English. Whoops. Adam is 46 and Eve is 410, versus here Adam is 45 and Eve is 19. So here we have, if we take Adam 45 minus 19, so the in between these two people is 26. And we remember that equals Yahweh or Jehovah. So only God can make man and woman one and unite them, which is a fun principle. We have Messiah, which is 358, and the word for serpent is 358. So thus, by the gematria employed in the book of Numbers, chapter 21, it is confirmed that the serpent lifted up on Moses' staff was indeed a type for the Savior Jesus Christ. And I'm going to put a link to the serpent handout in the description for the video, and also in our newsletter that we send out, because that serpent image of Christ is really rattling some people, but the serpent represents Christ and Satan in different ways, because Satan usurps symbols for Christ. All right, and this is a really fun one with gematria. So when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. So Eleazar, who is Abraham's chief servant, his name equals 318. Therefore, most exegetes versed in gematria assume that the symbolic message of the passage is that Eleazar and Abraham successfully freed Lot without the assistance of anyone else, which is interesting. We don't know if that's true. I mean, that's very esoteric. That's going to be revealed to you by the Spirit one way or another if you're seeking for that kind of a thing. But this is probably the most popular one, for sure. So this is a quote from the book of Revelation. I'll put the link in the description to that specific quote. So it says, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666." So if there isn't more of a, if we're reeling in fish, that is some good bait right there. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. Yeah, I have understanding. I want to know who the person is. So many people, the list is infinite. The different people that all equal 666 based on different languages, different gematria, structures, etc. Here's just a few to name. So Nero in Hebrew is 666. In the Greek language, Napoleon is 666. Likewise in Greek, Muhammad is 666. Hitler in English is 666. And in the Greek language, if you're talking about the Roman Catholic Church, it's 666. So the fact that it's clearly a very subjective practice also poses some dangers. As curious as the study of gematria is, it seems of a little value in understanding the meaning of Scripture, ancient or modern. Instead, it runs counter to President Boyd K. Packer's teaching that instruction vital to our salvation is not hidden in an obscure verse or phrase in Scriptures. To the contrary, essential truths are repeated over and over again. So take it for what it's worth, but I think it's still fun. Math is my favorite subject, and I love the reckoning by numbers with Hebrew. All right, so moving on to Hebrew math, the multiplication, adding, subtracting, division of numbers is not the same as Gematria. This is not so much, it is esoteric, but it's not as subjective as the other is. Because God seems to use this math very extensively throughout many prophets and scriptures. And they're very interesting, the equations that come out of it. So let's take this one, for example. And I'll have other ones in the future too, but this is the one I've got for here. So the 144,000 mentioned in the book of Revelation, that can come out to 12 times 12 times 1,000. So 12 we know is usually representative of the priesthood. So when we multiply priesthood power against itself, it signifies an even greater priesthood power. So it's not just multiplying it, meaning there's more of it, but it's a greater priesthood power. Then we take it times 1,000, which means multitudes. So we have multitudes of those people with greater overwhelming priesthood power than that of Aaronic or Melchizedek orders. So we're very much talking about the patriarchal order, not the Aaronic or Melchizedek orders. That's what we get when we take the 12 and the 12 multiplied by each other. We're ascending up an order to the patriarchal order. So President Nelson has asked us to seek the face of the Lord and do whatever's necessary to gain this greater priesthood power. He's asking us to be part of the 144,000 who'll be translated in order to perform greater missions during the days of tribulation. So there's all of these different mathematical principles. They're not essential for salvation, but if you're going to study anything, study the multiplication and addition, subtraction. The Gematria, there's stuff there, but it's not leading to the higher law that the people in Moses' day were seeking for. But holy math, the addition and multiplication of numbers and stuff, that can lead to higher knowledge and more insights into the scripture symbolically. So take it for what it's worth, but if you're going to do any homework with Gematria, you can create a chart of English-based Gematria and practice writing and associating the names of people and things. In class, we talked about Trump and Pence and their numbers, so those might be fun ones for you to take a look at. But like I said, you can take your spouse, your kids, see if any of them equal or mirror images of each other or various different things. It's fun. I love it. So have a great week.